We're going to go right into our program. We're going to start with the prayer from the pastor of this house, and I want to say thank you so much for hosting us here in your beautiful facility. He's going to open us in prayer at this time, Reverend Al Carter.
First of all, I'm not the senior pastor. I am his son. He's here. Dr. Copfield, on behalf of him, First Lady, and our leadership staff, we welcome you here to Central Brooklyn to God's Time of Prayer, home of the 67th Precinct and 67th Clergy. Our president is Pastor Guilford Monroe. Can we stand really quickly as we open up the word of prayer? Father, we thank you for this awesome day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad, and we pray that you will guide our conversation today as we all seek, all faiths, all leaders seek to bring down crime in the city that we love, New York City. We pray we have a blessed time together in your most holy name. Amen. Amen. You may be seated.
I'm going to keep my remarks very short in essence of time and wanting to definitely address all of your issues. My name is Reverend Dr. Q English. I am the co-founder of the People's Police Academy along with Dr. Divine Parra, a board member, Reverend Israel Pina. I'm also the co-founder of the New York City Clergy Roundtable, and we have been privileged to tour the city with our elite NYPD top brass in order to have these needed and essential conversations. And again, these are conversations, these are a way of building bridges and not burning them. All of the questions that will be asked today are the questions that you submitted. In the essence of time, as you know, 2 hours isn't a long time, and our 1.5 hours isn't a long time. And so we're going to go right into our questions after Commissioner O'Neill speaks. But do know the questions that are being asked are the questions that you have submitted. And I want to say thank you for submitting the questions and thank you for caring. And so here we have with us today, as you know, I'm going to recognize those that are on a podium. There is James P. O'Neill, our NYPD Commissioner. Benjamin Tucker, the Deputy Commissioner. Carlos Gomez, Chief of Department. Frank Vega, Deputy Chief CO, Office of Patrol. Joanne Jaffe, Chief of Community Affairs. James Secreto, Chief of Housing. Edna Wells Handy, NYPD Counsel. Lawrence Byrne, Deputy Commissioner of Legal Matters. Stephen Powers, Chief CO of PBBS. Jeffrey Nasri, Chief CO of PPBN. Martin Morales, Deputy Chief CO of Domestic Violence. Mark Molinari, CO of Hate Crimes Task Force. And Paul Serenaro, please forgive me if I mispronounce your name. He is the Executive Officer of the Special Victims Division. So I do want to say I thank our commissioner for taking the time to do this, for taking the time to have these conversations, for taking the time not to just listen, but to implement, to share the strategic ideas that they themselves have come up with to tell us about, which you'll hear later on today. But I just wanted to personally thank him for taking the time. Can we just one more time to put our hands together for whom I admire and think is one of the greatest commissioners of New York City here, our Commissioner O'Neill. Would you come at this time?
Thank you, Reverend Q. Morning, everybody. It's truly a pleasure to be back in Brooklyn. It's actually not too far from where I spent the first 3 years of my life. I've worked the first 12 years of my life. Back on East 32nd and Beverly. This is number 3 for us. Reverend Q, Dr. Divine, all right? Started out in the Bronx. That's, I don't know if you know where that is. It's someplace up north. We moved a little closer. We went to Manhattan North. Had a good turnout in both places. And now we're in Brooklyn, which Steve Powers and Jeff Landry told me is the epicenter of New York City. think it's real important, and Reverend Q, there's no need to thank us for being here. This is what we get paid to do. This is why we exist. We have the police officers out there, sergeants, lieutenants, the precinct commanders. They're out there doing the work each and every day, and it's up to the command staff to let everybody know how difficult their job is and what a great job they're doing, and let you know what we're doing to make the city safer. I think everybody probably had a chance to look at the news last night and maybe read the newspaper today. You saw yesterday was a big day for the police department. We've embarked on the body-worn camera program a couple of months ago. We had a pilot project a couple of years ago. I think, Ben, if I'm not mistaken, we have about 550 cameras out there right now, right?
Over 600.
About 600 cameras out there right now. At the end of this year, we should have about 1,200. At the end of 18, we should have about 5,000. And the end of 19, all people on patrol will have those body-worn cameras. But yesterday was big because it was the first time that first time we had a police-involved shooting that was captured on the body-worn camera. And we released it yesterday. We released it for a number of reasons, but the main reason we released it is because we need to continue to build trust in this city. You have to trust your police department, and we have to be as transparent as possible. We had a good discussion with the Bronx District Attorney, Darcel Clark. This shooting is still under investigation. She understands why we did it. I think her preference is that we had held it a little bit longer because she is conducting the investigation. But after a good discussion, good healthy discussion with her, she understood our position. Had a little pushback from the PDA, talking about 50A and police officers' rights, which I'm a cop for almost 35 years. You don't really have to tell me about police officers' rights. But it's important for everybody in this city to see what we do and how we do it. I don't know if you saw the video. If you didn't, you should make it your business to see it. So this is the first one. I'm sure, unfortunately, there's going to be others. It's kind of precedent setting, but each one is going to be different. So it took us, I think, 6 or 7 days to release this. Had some people the DA's office had some people they had to interview. We put it out as quickly as we could, but there's a process here, and we have to abide by that process. So when this comes up again, we'll take another look at it. Might not be 6 or 7 days. We'll have to see depending on the circumstances. But I think it's important that everybody in this city take a look at that and see what those police officers were faced with. Very difficult, very difficult circumstances. And I think that at first blush, it's under investigation by the DA's office, of course, in our Force Investigation Division. But I think the police officers, they followed our policies and procedures. And as we go through this and see what happens at the end of this investigation, I think the police officers acted with great restraint. So make it your business to please take a look at that video. And you'll get some insight into what it means to be a New York City police officer and how difficult the job it truly is. So to the men and women in blue today, precinct commanders, borough commanders, thank you for what you do. I'm still a little jealous that you get to wear your uniforms every day. That's the thing that I miss. I was so proud to wear that uniform for 34 years. Actually, tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary of getting sworn in as policeman. That's premature clapping. I still have 1 day left. So. It's a big city, a lot of things going on. Okay, I want to leave plenty of time for the questions, and we'll give you the best answers we can. Some of them are a lot of them have to do with neighborhood policing, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Neighborhood policing is something that we embarked on about 2.5 years ago. We started small out in the Far Rockaway and out in Upper Manhattan. And we've completely changed the way we do business in our precincts. I know most of the police officers and a lot of you sit in the audience have probably heard this already, so I'm going to try to give you the short version of it. But prior to neighborhood policing, if I'm a police officer working in a precinct, and I'm in a patrol car, a sector car, during the course of my day, I could be answering 10, 20, 30 radio runs, 911 calls in an 8-hour period. So where in that model of policing do you have any opportunity to make a connection to anyone in the city except the people calling 911? Now, I've been a cop for a long time. Ever since I came on, everybody talks about getting closer to the community. And during my time as a precinct commander up in Manhattan North and up in the Bronx, these are things that I thought about. And we're asking a lot of our cops, are we giving them the opportunity to do what we want them to do? So what we did was, we took a lot of police officers that were in specialized units within the precincts, we put them back into patrol cars, back on foot, we resected those precincts into natural neighborhoods, and we put those same police officers in those same neighborhoods every day. And we also created a position called the Neighborhood Coordination Officer. There's 2 per sector. And their job is to be the conduit between the community and the steady sector cops. Obviously, they're not going to get to meet everyone. If you look at my old precinct in the Bronx, the 4th, there's 150,000 people in 1.9 square miles. There's 5 sectors. So do some quick math, it's about 30,000 people per sector. You're not going to meet everybody, obviously not, but at least you're going to have the opportunity to meet the same people every day. You'll be serving the same community every day. We set it up so they have at least a third of their day when they're not answering 911 calls. So the sector cops have the opportunity to come to meetings like this, to come to business meetings, to come to tenant association meetings, to come to community council meetings, and get to know that people are sworn to protect and serve. So far, about a little more than 2 years in, we're getting very positive feedback from the police officers. And that's important. You have to have a motivated police department. We want them to go out there and identify problems in conjunction with the community. We want them to identify solutions in conjunction with the community. Because nobody knows better than the people that live and work on that block where the issues are and who's causing the problems. But I think the police officers, a different way of doing business, I think they're happy. We're moving forward. We're in 51 out of the 77 precincts and all the housing PSAs. The NCOs, they're thrilled. They get to do that outreach every day. But the number one thing we have to remember here is that this is a crime-fighting model of policing. And we get paid to keep people safe. That's why people become cops. They become cops to make a difference, to do good. And I think it's important that, as you know, as we move into neighborhood policing throughout the city, we understand what our responsibility is. But the only way we get to do that and do it well is working in conjunction with the community. I'm not a big person for putting stats out here. But I gotta let you know what's going on in New York City. Because I'm not sure if you read about it or if you see it on TV too much. 2016 was a good year for New York City. Now, notice I didn't say it was a good year for the NYPD. It was a good year for New York City. We had 335 homicides last year, 335 too many. But as I look out at the audience here, some people were here back in the early 90s, the 2000s, when there were 2,000 homicides in New York City, when there were 5,000 shootings. In 16, you had 998 shootings. And overall index crime was reduced. Those are those 7 major crimes by about 4.5%. So we're 9 months into 2017, and homicides have been reduced again, down about 60. Shootings have been reduced again, down about 160. And overall crime, down about 6.5%. Again, that's not something that we do by ourselves. We can't operate in the city alone. We have law enforcement partners. the FBI, the DEA, the Marshal Service. Very excellent task forces. We have the prosecutors, the Brooklyn DA, Bronx, Garcelle, Manhattan, Cy Vance, all 5 boroughs. We have the Eastern District, we have the Southern District. That's all well and good, but it's still, if we're going to continue to push crime down, it's got to be a shared responsibility between the police and the community. And as we go through the questions, and I looked at them, some of them are difficult questions, we're going to do our best to answer them. Talk about immigration, talk about stop, question, and frisk. These are things that we need to talk about if we're going to continue to build trust. And I think those numbers, they're numbers, but just keep in mind, those numbers represent human beings. So when I stand up here and say that we had 60 fewer homicides this year, that's 60 people that are still walking around this great earth. And we can get those numbers down even lower. When we started neighborhood policing, we started in some smaller precincts. Busy, yet smaller. The 100, the 101, the 33, and the 34. Then we immediately moved to the precincts where historically there have been challenges between the police and the community. We came to the 6-7. We came to the 4-0, the 4-4, the 3-2. And the NCOs are thriving, the sector cops are thriving. And I think the feedback that we're getting from the community is nothing but positive. But we can't stop there. If you don't know your NCOs, if you have a church, if you have a business, that's probably our fault. Each and every one of our police officers now has a smartphone. They have a phone number, they have an email address, they give them out. You have an issue, you have a problem, call them, email them, and we'll resolve it together. That's how we're going to move forward. I don't think I have too much more. I do want to talk about just one area real quickly, and it's in the news again. There was a terrorist event over in London this morning. Last I read, it's about 22 people were injured. That's something that we always have to be vigilant. We had 9/11 the other day, and it's a day to remember those that were killed and those that can still continue to die. I think it's over 150 firefighters have died since 9/11. I think we're up to 134 police officers that have died. But it's also a reminder that we need to be vigilant. And I think neighborhood policing is going to help us with that. When we have a great ability to investigate, we have the Joint Terrorist Task Force, we have the great ability to prevent with the Critical Response Command and SRG. We also have, God forbid something does happen, a great ability to respond. But it's got to be more than that. You know, if you see something out there that makes you uncomfortable, you have an obligation to come forward, call 911, flag down a police car. Give us the opportunity to investigate, because we do investigate that fresh stream that comes in. But we can't do it alone. We're going to continue to keep the city safe. So, Reverend Q, thank you for doing this morning. All right, and we look forward to answering your questions. Thank you very much.
So I'm actually going to ask Dr. Devine Pryor to come, and he's just going to lead into our
expertise of the community together with law enforcement to share ideas and practices and insights and experiences so that we can together begin to craft out a path towards the quality of life that all of us deserve. So I'm going to stop there and say that that's why we're here today. There are some real questions that you posed. The commissioner has brought his entire team here to answer those questions. And so I want you to be patient. As my colleague said, we may not be able to answer them all, but we're going to try to get to as many as possible. So let me get out of your way and let me bring Reverend Tina, you coming up next, Reverend Q back, who will then initiate the process. Thank you, Dr. Simon.
Okay, and so there are several pastors that have been assigned to ask the questions that are here locally. And I just want to say, I also want to thank our faith leaders from our Muslim, Sikh, Jewish, and Christian religion that are here today. Can we just acknowledge them as well? Because I'm a firm believer that faith must take the lead. So in this order, you will ask your questions. You'll have a set of questions to ask your team. So we're going to start with Reverend Bruce Gardner, followed by, if we can line up at this time, followed by Bishop Cecil Riley, followed by Bishop R.C.U. Nelson, followed by Pastor Brian C. Ellis Gibbs, followed by Pastor Bishop Eric Garnes, followed by Pastor Joseph Jones, and followed by Pastor Bishop Willie Phillips. And they will ask a set of questions according to the number, and I'm asking the pastors.
Speech is considered free speech, so it's when it's coupled with a true threat of violence that it becomes criminality.
Thank you. Can you explain the legal proceedings that take place within the department when an officer is accused of police misconduct, brutality, and/or questionable death?
Commissioner Richardson down there? Couldn't get a seat up here? We can find him.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Bring that mic up.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. When a police officer is accused of misconduct, there is a disciplinary system within the police department that will file charges against an officer relative to the misconduct he or she is accused of. There is a trial court within the NYPD which will prosecute an officer who commits misconduct, and the penalties are they can range from a police officer being re-instructed or retrained to being docked vacation days, and the ultimate penalty we can impose is we can fire a police officer who commits misconduct.
Thank you.
Kevin, just talk a little bit more about what's transpired over the last few years. I think there's many things that the NYPD does well, but I think one of the things that we don't do well
is used sparingly, is in fact used. So since 2014, there have been over 170 police officers fired from the police department for disciplinary reasons. And just this year alone, there have been close to 40 police officers fired. So the department takes very serious any allegations of misconduct of police officers. We listen to your complaints, we will follow them up, we will thoroughly investigate them, and where appropriate, we will prosecute and sanction a police officer who engages in misconduct up to and including termination.
Last question on the legal. Can you explain to the public the law that prevents an officer from being immediately questioned after a serious incident has taken place?
Yes, there is a rule that's known as the 48-hour rule. And what it says is that a police officer who is involved in a serious event has the right to confer with his or her attorney before they make what is a compulsory statement in an official interrogation. And the police department has been dealing with that. It's a state law, it's a rule from a state appeals court. It's now codified in the union contract of police officers, but it does not prevent the police department from conducting an investigation in a timely manner. In that the police department will interview all of the other officers involved. For example, if it's a case of an officer using excessive force or accused of using excessive force, the other officers around will be interviewed, the civilians will be interviewed, any video footage, including now body camera footage, will be reviewed and studied and analyzed, so that when it is time to question or interrogate a police officer who's involved in an incident like that, the police department is ready and able to do so effectively and thoroughly.
Thank you.
That come in, but the precinct commanders and PSA commanders are there. In terms of the The clergy are so critical. They're critical to us, and they're critical. They're so important in the communities because people look at them and go to them for guidance and advice, and they're just so important. So we want the clergy, all faiths, to open up their religious institutions, invite the NCOs, invite community affairs, invite precinct and PSA commanders to come into your religious institution. Invite us to do a presentation. It could be about crime prevention. It could be about building trust. It could be about, like the police commissioner said, difficult issues like stop, question, and frisk. It can be difficult. It doesn't have to only be about what we want to talk about. We want to know what you want to talk about. There are so many youth programs, and I think I'll get to speak about them later on, so I won't take the time now. We have a Grandmother's Love program for grandmothers that are running and raising children. There are sports programs. We want you to reach out to the immigrant community. So many of them are struggling. So churches and other city agencies could open up their doors, and we could invite other religious, ethnic nationalities that are struggling and that are scared in the communities that we serve. We have youth leadership councils. We want your help. There are 18 now in precincts. There will be 29 starting within the next month. So we want young people to be involved with us. So we need your help as the adults to get those young people involved. And of course, last but not least, help support our Explorer program. Over 3,000 Explorers in New York City, 14 to 20 years old. They're in every precinct, PSA, and transit district. Many schools have Explorer posts. We need young people. We want young people to be involved, to learn leadership skills, team building skills, and sometimes there are obstacles. So we need support. We need financial support. The Explorer program is not under the police department. We're the coordinators, but it's under Learning for Life and the Boy Scouts of America. It's a national program across the country, and there's a chartering fee for all those kids. And sometimes it's difficult for the Explorer coordinators in the precincts and PSAs to get those fees met. Those fees go to Learning for Life. So we like to get our elected officials involved to help support that. So thank you very much.
Please explain if from borough to borough there are different policing protocols by community, and if so, what are they?
I'll take that. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. Good to see you all. Lots of familiar faces in the crowd. So simple answer.
We will.
She's from the church.
And we're doing
Come on, you gotta go deeper than that.
And we're doing so. We're working with, as a commission, and all the law enforcement partners in diversion programs, the SET program, and others. But we have two pilots that might be of interest to you in this matter. One is the 6-7 Clergy Council pilot that ran this summer with the God Squad, with the 6-7 executives, the NCOs officers, where the goal was to meet youth at the places where they are and the times that they're there, and to offer them services along with the mayors.
And then you might want to try another mic.
And it's to offer them services where they are, and we're working with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice in doing that. The second one is a part of the program that is, again, part of the neighborhood policing and precision policing, where we're looking at precision community responses. Some of you are aware that as a law enforcement effort, the department is moving in, looking at gang and gang activities. And one area is precision with which we're looking at that is with takedowns. But we recognize the impact of a takedown on the community, so we've engaged in a post-takedown community strategy, which is to provide the community with not just the information about the takedown, but the opportunity to work with us in what we're calling redirection. Where there's a takedown, there's a void. And so what we're trying to do with the community is to ensure that that void is not filled by others. So those are part of the diversion efforts that we are taking and are willing to take others. Thank you.
Thank you.